So all I remember was, as I say, I went into a really deep sleep, and I remember that my husband, when he normally goes to bed, you know, he would thump down and I'd feel the bed like rock and everything. And this time it was very like gentle, quite almost like he didn't want to wake me. And I remember thinking, okay, he's in bed now. But I was very, very tired. The next thing I know, he sat bolt upright in bed and made this horrendous like this. I thought, what the hell's going on? Is he choking? What's the matter? You know, I wondered whether it was this breathing and this coughing thing. Sat bolt upright. Next thing is, he stood up next to the bed. Now, I thought he'd been drinking because obviously it was late at night that he came to bed. And I said, Chris, what are you doing? Don't be silly. Because he was swaying. I said, you all right? Have you been drinking? And I could see him swaying. And I dashed across the bed. Next thing is, he made a horrendous again and fell into my arms. His arm was as heavy as his body. I thought, heck, what's going on? Chris, are you all right? Anyway, so then he lurched again, and he was so heavy, I dropped him. He fell against the bed, his neck crooked, eyes popping out of his head. They went bloodshot. I said, what the heck? I thought he'd broken his neck. So I just panicked and I just pushed the bed away as quickly as I could, got him on his back, and that was it. It was silent. Absolutely, it was just so eerie. Heck, what's happened? Oh my God, I better ring an ambulance. Because I run across the bed again, grab my phone, and then I dial 111. I thought, shit, what the heck am I doing? Because I couldn't think. It was like 12 o'clock at night. I was so tired. Next thing is I pressed 999, let them know what had happened. So my husband's on the floor. So they said, right, okay. They said, before you start CPR, go downstairs and open the front door for the ambulance. So of course my kids had seen what had happened. I don't know where they went. So they didn't obviously know how to open the door. So I dashed downstairs as quickly as possible, opened the front door, ran up as fast as I could again. And so I went back on the phone. I said, right, you need to start CPR. So I started CPR. I said, do I need to do the rescue breaths? Now, I've done CPR for 20 years. And I said to her, are you sure I don't need to do the CPR? No, you don't need to do CPR breaths now. It's fine. Just do the pumpings. So as I was pumping away, I kept saying to her, you sure I don't need to do these rescue breaths? So I actually did. I did a couple, thinking this isn't right. I need to get something in him. And so I was doing the CPR, and I was just getting so tired. In the end, I was like, where are they? Where are the ambulance? Are the ambulance coming? Because I'd given her my address and everything. It was just taking forever. Oh yeah, they're on their way. Are you sure I'm not supposed to be doing the rescue breath? No, it's fine. Just keep pumping the chest. So I was pumping as hard as I could with my arms straight. My husband was just like completely silent, grey, eyes wide open. It's just horrendous. It's nothing that you will ever experience just doing your CPR on the dummies. And then the next thing is, I hear the ambulance here. I heard them draw up. I was screaming by that time, where the hell are they? Get them here as quickly as possible. Because they just seemed to be taking their time. I heard them draw up, but they weren't coming up the stairs. When they did come up the stairs, finally, I said to the guy, you need to shock him. I said, you need to shock him. That's all I said. That's all the words I could get out. I was so exhausted. Went downstairs, let them take over. They did all the checks again, and they didn't shock him. And I wondered why. I was thinking, why aren't they shocking him? They put oxygen on him. I was downstairs by this time with the children, and I rang my mum and dad, and they came over. My son was playing his Lego, and then the ambulance crew all of a sudden came down to me and said, we might be able to helicopter him out. The air ambulance came. So I was saying, oh my God, he's got a chance. This is amazing. So I was trying to find some clothes. I literally just had a t-shirt on at the time. Piles of washing everywhere, couldn't find any clothes. Then they started shocking him. And the sound of that, oh my God, the thumping. My kids were downstairs just playing Lego, trying to pacify them. My mum and dad had turned up. And then his mum turned up. I phoned her. And obviously that wasn't the best experience because, wow, I mean, having to tell his mum what had happened was devastating. And it was devastating for all of us, you know. We just didn't know what was happening because one minute I was getting ready to air ambulance him out, and the next minute they were going into the electric shocks and the defibrillator. So we were downstairs just waiting and not knowing what was happening. And then the next thing is the ambulance lady called me upstairs. My mother-in-law was upstairs with him, and he was on a compression thing, just keeping his chest going up and down. And the air ambulance lady said to me, you need to decide whether you're going to switch him off or not. And I said, no, I'm not doing it. I said, you get him out to the hospital and you work on him till you bring him back. And she just shook her head. And I had to make that decision to switch off the machine. And I said, I'm not going to do it. She said, you keep him going. She said, he's brain dead anyway. He can't breathe on his own. He's just breathing with the machine. It's just his chest going up and down. It's not breathing. It's got no oxygen in his head. And I had to make that decision in front of his mum to switch off the machine, and I couldn't do it. I said, there must be something you can do. And she just keeps shaking her head. And so, in the end, I had to let him go. And it was the hardest decision of my life because I just thought there had to be something that could be done. You know, I even then there was somebody who was called and he was taken away in bag. But before, they said to me, does your children want to see him before he goes? My mother-in-law was sat by him. We all said our goodbyes. Even my daughter wanted to see him and say goodbye. My son didn't. He couldn't face seeing him. And he was taken away in a bag. Zipped up in the bag. And that was it. He was 42 years old and suddenly died. And when they did the post-mortem, they said that it was a cardiac arrest. There was no drugs, there was no alcohol in his system. He had no arteriosis of the arteries. It was just an electrical fault with the heart. And these things can manifest in their 40s, particularly in men, and it can just happen. Now, I kind of think to myself, maybe I should have acted on, when he said all the pain that wouldn't go away in his chest, but apparently they said even if I'd taken him to the doctors, they wouldn't have found what was wrong because it was an electrical fault in the heart. And that would have taken a lot of tests. And by the time I would have got the doctor's appointment, that was only a couple of days later. It would have been too late anyway. And, and you keep going over about what about the rescue breaths? Would that have helped him? But apparently I've heard that even with those, it's not enough oxygen to keep them alive. And, there is a very, very slim chance. But even if I had have brought him round, apparently he probably would have been a vegetable and basically, would have had brain damage. So it's something you have to think about. But like with Christensen and the other DJ guy who suddenly died, well, the Christensen obviously survived, but the reason he survived was because the paramedics were there, instantly. When I looked at my phone, from when I called the ambulance to when I stopped my phone, it was 12 minutes. It took 12 minutes for the ambulance to come for my husband, and it should take 6. And I can't prove anything, but the only thing I do remember is smelling alcohol when they arrived And all I can say is, obviously, that is horrendous if that is happening, because if that's what caused them to take 12 minutes, I'd like to question that. One thing, don't be afraid to have a go at CPR, because as much as it's horrific, you still could give someone a chance. I gave my husband a chance, enough for the ambulance crew to be able to work on him. I kept his heart going, and you know, if you can get in and just do something, you can keep them going, and you might be the one that's lucky. You might be the one that saves their life. You know, sometimes it's just, they said my husband's cardiac arrest was so big, nothing probably would have brought him back because it was such a big shock. But, you know, there might be someone who has a milder shock and you might have a chance. So whatever happens, just give it a go. Do a CPR course. You know, that's the best investment you can do to save someone's life. And, you know, just saying as well, it's not the same. It is very shocking and it's very frightening. And doesn't matter how much people say to you, stay calm. When you see a loved one lying on the floor and the silence that you hear, it's very, very disturbing. And, you know, I would just say to you now that afterwards, I obviously had to deal with all the aftermath and my children. And I said to my kids, what happened when you were there? And they said, we went to our safe place. So I said, well, where's your safe place? They said, we just stood in the kitchen at the very end and huddled, because they saw everything. And, you know, to see that happen to their dad is going to affect them for the rest of their life. But their faith is really strong, and my kids are amazing because they have a very strong faith, which is what helps keep them going, and they know that Daddy's in heaven. And the first thing I did after the funeral, as I said to my kids, come on, we're going on holiday, because it's all about living on and making new memories. And that was the main thing that was on my mind, was we can't stop. We have to allow ourselves to grieve. But the most thing for my kids was to keep them busy and to quickly make new memories. And we went camping in Wales, stayed in a little mobile caravan by the sea, and it was amazing. And the weird thing was, when we arrived in the caravan, there was angel wings everywhere in the van. It had like angel wings, curtain tie backs, and in my bedroom there was a picture, and it had two poppies intertwined. Now my husband was in the RAF and out in Afghanistan, and the fact that there was this picture of two poppies intertwined above my bed made me think, you know what, their spirits are alive and they do live on around us and inhabit this world just in another dimension, and they're there still protecting us. So I just have to say to you, you know, you have to take life and live it to the full. My husband did. They say he lived life. Literally, he did probably what someone has done in 70 years, in 40 years. He was just going 100 miles an hour, you know, and he had projects on the go. He'd come home, make sure he devoted his time to his kids, and still go out and do other projects as well, help other people, make things for people. And he lived life to the full. And that's all I can say, is his legacy has left an impression on everyone's lives. You know, he was such a giving person. He had a big heart, quite literally. And he also was a pioneer for virtual reality. And even now, still people remember him in the virtual reality community. But the message for this is, for a start, the one weird thing about it was he seemed to have an aura before he died. Because when we were in the kitchen, just on the day he died, he said to me, he looked me in the eyes and he said to me, you know I love you, don't you? And I went, oh, don't be silly. I said, what are you saying that for? And I carried on doing the dishes. And he grabbed me and he said, no, you know I love you, don't you? So I think he kind of knew that something was going to happen, because then all of a sudden he said, I think we need to go and sort the life insurance out. And I said, what? Don't jinx something. I said, don't be silly. We need to look at all the packages first, because we'd just taken out a big loan to do up the house. And I said, no, don't be silly. I said, we need to look at everything first. And he was very anxious. I thought he had to do it. So it was like there was an aura. And his friend said that day as well, he was in our local town, and he was in the car, and then he just suddenly thought, I'll just go into the town with my friend. And everyone was there, all his friends. And he said they said it was really strange because we weren't expecting it. So it was almost like, as I say, there was this aura that he had on that day. And it was very strange. So I just say to you now, like, yeah, just, you have to remember that although you can hold on to people of the past, there are people out there that are lonely and that are crying out for love in this world. And, you know, we're here to give love, and we're here to celebrate life and to carry on. And all I really believe is there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and we need to just live our purpose, find our purpose in life, and live on and give as much love as we can. And I think if you dwell on that, as sad as the story is, we're all needing love, and we all need to connect, and we need to carry on and embrace life, and just also don't assume someone's situation. So like with what happened to me working in the gym, you know, the reason I was late wasn't because I was being, you know, out drinking and lying about, you know, me lying in bed or anything like that. It was purely because I lost my card. And, you know, someone's situation may be different to what it actually seems on the surface. Like the saying goes, don't judge a book by its cover, and don't see someone's situation as the same as yours. So like with my anxiety and my heart problem was nowhere to anything to what my husband was experiencing, even though I didn't know it at the time, because you kind of think, well, they said they had it and it's gone. Obviously, with a lot of heart attacks and a lot of cardiac arrests, there's a continuation. So, yeah, what I always say to you now is if you see any signs of anybody having chest pain, call 999, get them down there straight away, because even if they can't do anything, at least it gives them a chance. And then if it gets to the point where you've got to do CPR, just get down there and do it. You know, whatever it takes. So, as I say, live positive, go out and celebrate life and create new memories, because at the end of the day, your life doesn't stop. You've got to keep going. You've got to, particularly for children, you've got to keep their memories going. Otherwise, they'll stay with that memory forever and ever, and they won't have any more memories to replace it. Not replace it, but to continue their lives. And their life needs to be full of memories, and happy memories, you know. And it's so important, you know, to be strong, particularly as a parent, to carry on and celebrate life with your children, because that's their lives and they need to live as well. So I hope you have a lovely day, and don't think the worst, but just be wary that things can change in an instant, and they can change for the better, like it happened to me. You know, I'm so lucky because I got to experience love, and there's many people in this world who haven't, and have been lonely, don't have children, have been crying out to meet that special person and never do. And I did. And that's what I am so grateful for, that I met this man that was so loving and so kind and made our lives so happy. And, you know, sadly enough, I just kept thinking to myself, I'm the luckiest person. And, you know, I thought, why am I so lucky to have such a giving husband that does everything for me? And, you know, I kept saying to him, we used to do funny cuddles of the day and things like that. So if we're going to still do this when we're old and grey, a cuddle of the day, different types of cuddles we used to do. And we used to laugh about it, thinking we were going to grow old together. And I just said to him, I hope nothing bursts our bubble. And sadly it did. So you have to embrace every moment, enjoy every bit of life, and see it as a journey. And I hope your journey is as beautiful and as wonderful as it can be.